Hello, guys. Okay, so it's Wednesday, and I don't normally stream on a Wednesday. Let me make sure the audio is playing. Hold up. Oh, yeah. Okay, you can hear me. And but I've decided that I want to try to do interview more people and get more people on my YouTube channel. And there's a lot of really great people out there. And I've been complaining about this whole e-celeb culture. I think there's a lot of really important people that do a lot of really great work. So I really want to try the best that I can to make sure people are seen and heard that have some really good content. So today I have Roy. I guess your name is Roy, right? And you do this book called Testosterone and Civilization. Say hello, Roy. You're on screen.
Yeah, hello to everyone. Yeah, good to be with you. I wrote actually 3 books, 2 of them on testosterone, sex wars, current cultural conflicts.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so I've never talked to you in person before, so now I just hear your voice. Where are you from?
I live in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Oh, okay, cool. Tel Aviv, very nice. And
Yeah.
so, what is this sex wars about? What is it that you write about with this testosterone and sex wars stuff?
Well, actually, I take a very long view of history. I interested in integrating sciences, philosophy. I studied some biology, hormones, psychology. So it's an interesting theory I worked on for the last 10 years. I wrote 3 books. And what I saw is that there's some patterns, recurring patterns of history where civilizations rise and fall. It has to do also with masculinity, with religion, like you have during the Enlightenment, the ideal of God the Father, the Creator. You see it in the Declaration of Independence, who provides inalienable rights for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, this masculine culture. So it encompasses also religion, culture, social status. It's very interesting. So I cover a lot of stuff and I try to integrate it because today we have a problem in our society, like academia is controlled by radical feminists, and they make a lot of very good empirical research, but they don't integrate it into one holistic theory that explains what's going on. So people are very much in the dark, and I'm trying to shed some light on the forces that working in our culture, integrating these various sciences, including hormones, biology, psychology, and social sciences.
That's amazing. So, do you have some sort of expertise on hormones and that kind of stuff? Are you a doctor, or what is your expertise on that?
No, actually, I'm an independent scholar. My work is as a financial analyst in the stock market. Introduced me to the cycles of history because I saw the repeating cycles in 2000, the recession, and then in 2008, the Great Recession, and then we had this recovery. But social mood is actually declining. We see more social conflict, social polarization, more hatred between the right and the left, feminists versus masculinity, and nationalism versus globalism with Trump and Hillary Clinton. This has to do with the sex hormones. So my background is actually in finance, but through studying financial cycles, I started going deeper into philosophy. I studied philosophy of capitalism versus communism. I saw also that it has to do also with sex hormones, because the communists used to be more on the feminist side, and you see the capitalists more individualism, masculine side. And then I started to integrate all this information. It became very interested. I became obsessed with it for the last 10 years. And then I produced these 3 books as a result. Now I also have some articles I submitted to academic journals. So in the US, because it's controlled by radical feminists, I cannot get anything published. But now they accepted they're going to publish my academic articles in Italy, in a Philosophy and Science journal.
Wow.
It's going to be published this month. And also I submitted in Japan and in other articles in Central Europe in academic journals. So I believe over the next year it will get more academic recognition from Not in the U.S. because it's too radical feminist controlled, but in other parts of the world.
That is amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the only way you can get through to people nowadays is to try to get into the academic world, because they'll just say it's fake news. So you gotta, try to get into the academic. And I think that's a really good approach. And I don't think that's what a lot of people are doing on the right, which is disappointing. We do a lot of YouTubes and tweeting, but I think it's really important to get into those legitimate fields of study so that it can be taken seriously. And I don't think the right really values that as much, which I understand because, like you said, the academic world has been infiltrated by feminism and the left and all that, but we still have to kind of get our grounding, our tentacles back in there and start making progress that way, not just YouTube and Twitter. But you made an interesting point too with your study of finance, because I was a math major actually, and so I'm pretty sure finance is really similar to math and all that. And like you said, you see patterns and things, and I see that like the math everywhere, all around me with patterns and all that. So it kind of naturally lends itself to seeing patterns, which is how you started researching this stuff. And the left and feminism think that there is no difference between masculine and feminine. It's a social construct. But I mean, that's not true. There's natural patterns that men and women, or when you have high testosterone or estrogen that one has when you have those things. So is this kind of what you talk about or go through, and what are those like patterns and distinctive traits?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you read the science empirical research, they have actually great research. The scientific establishment. The problem is there's no one who's willing to construct a holistic theory from all this research. So you just have these thousands of research papers that they do every month, publish every month in the academic journals, and nobody's doing the theory from them. Nobody's constructing a logical synthesis of these studies into an integrated holistic theory. So that's what I did. And if you study testosterone, so it's a dominance hormone. Men have like 10 times more than women. Mm-hmm. But women also are very influenced by testosterone. Right. There are endocrinologists that help women with testosterone when they're middle-aged women.
Yeah.
And actually, women with higher testosterone levels are more attracted to masculine men. And men with higher testosterone levels are more attracted to more feminine women. So it regulates opposite sex attraction or heterosexuality. So it's not a surprise then when you see testosterone levels in society declining as we are experiencing today, such a precipitous drop. You see a transgender, anti-heterosexual culture, homosexuality, because it's a collapse of testosterone and also serotonin, also an important sex hormone. And this is the result. But this will never be discussed in the academic journals because they're anti-testosterone, anti-masculine. They believe it's harmful. They believe all men are rapists and so on and so on. So we have a big problem here with our academic establishment. So science is, you may say it's almost dead now in the West because nobody is willing to discuss these issues. A great prominent psychologist, Jonathan Haidt, is calling for a more heterodox academy to attack this feminist orthodoxy that stifles open research and dialogue in science. We need to hear both sides. He says conservative and liberals, or in more sincere words, I would say the masculine versus the feminine, the yin yang. He calls it the yin yang. Right. The Chinese philosophy understand very well the yin yang is the feminine versus masculine viewpoint, and this is totally missing. And unfortunately, I'm the only one in the world who's really researching this amazing stuff, and I don't understand how nobody's interested in these things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's like definitely what you said, which I've noticed too, is that if there are people in the medical or scientific fields that try to be really open and honest about these topics and use their professional knowledge in this field, they get shut down and they get told that they are transphobic or this or that. So it's like you're forced to kind of comply with what they want you to say, or you get in big trouble and you get blacklisted and you get taken off the board of something or whatever. You know, you get your medical license revoked or whatever. So I think that's a really dangerous place for science and medical study, because if you can't go in and kind of research things and kind of question things, I mean, that's the whole. That's the start of science, right? The scientific method is the hypothesis. You go, well, what if, you know, this is the case? And they go, no, that's a dangerous hypothesis. You can't even question that. Then you can't go on to research it and see what's beyond it. So it's definitely, I see that. Damn, what was your other point? What did you just say? Something.
Well, I want to respond to what you said.
Sure.
It's interesting. Well, like, if you see, like, the Renaissance, or the center of science was in Italy, like great artists like Leonardo da Vinci. But unfortunately, when Galileo was persecuted by the Catholic Church in the early Enlightenment, that was the end of great Italian Renaissance, because then you see the science migrating more to Northern Europe, to England or France. And you don't see great Italian philosophers and scientists such as Galileo after that. And I believe that's what's going to happen to Western science. It will migrate to the East, because now scientists are being persecuted by the social justice warrior and the radical feminists, so Marxist ideology. So you cannot express yourself, and there is no incentive for scientists to explore science. So I think it will be gradually moving toward China, the science.
Right. Oh, that's what it was going to lead me to. Yeah, you mentioned the yin and yang, and this is something that I talk about actually all the time. I've done videos on it, and I mention it in my live streams quite often, because there is this, like, fight between masculine and feminine, and I think there's a reactionary thing happening because of feminism and their, like, really push for feminized culture. So there's, like, a reaction happening with the masculine right-wing kind of world, and that can also go a little too far. And like you say, it's yin and yang, and that's kind of how I express it as well. They're different, but they're complementary, and they fit together, and it's important to have both aspects in a complementary way. Now, I'm not saying they're, you know, like exactly the same, head to head, like the same. No, they're different, but equal in different ways. So I think that's a really, really important thing that both left and right kind of need to realize, is that it is like yin and yang. They're complementary, and they're both useful in their individual way. So yeah, I definitely have noticed that as well. So, you know, I haven't gotten your book yet or anything, but I have been a fan of your work and your Twitter and stuff like that, and I just really love your website. I should bring it up too on the screen, and it's just so really well done. But if you can just kind of explain it for everyone, not only me, because I've looked at some of it a bit, but for any of the viewers, just like, what do you want to say? Like, what do you want to share with people that maybe are not familiar with your work?
Well, it's a lot of to share. There's a lot of information in my books. But it's interesting. I think it's important to understand the Enlightenment culture. What made the West great is the Enlightenment. Since then, the West rose to dominance. It developed the scientific revolution, the modern technology, the industrial age, our capitalistic age. And what's happening in history, I think, is the cyclical patterns. Art historian Camille Paglia, author of Sexual Persona. She's a very prominent sexual philosopher in the U.S. So she says history is cyclic, and when she studied the history of ancient Rome and Greece, she found out that when transgenderism rises, is always towards the end of the cycle of civilization, and then it collapses, because, as I would say, it has to do with sex hormones. When testosterone levels decline, you have a decline in motivation. People not motivated, as we see today. They don't want to have children. We see that in the millennial generation, they stay like infantile. They don't go up. During puberty, you have the sex hormones kicking in. In adolescence, they prepare the body and our brain as well for maturity, for sexual maturity, to take personal responsibility, to rebel against their parents, to become independent, and then to get married, have a family, have children, and this you see now is all going apart. Decline in marriage, decline in sex. People are not even having sex anymore in college. They're too afraid of the gender wars and the social conflict. So what's going on? We have a decline in sex hormones such as testosterone, serotonin, which is a social status hormone. So people are more depressed. You see great rise in antidepressant use, especially among middle-aged women. That's why they're the radical feminists are extremely depressed, bitter. They talk about the oppressive culture. It's like a race to the bottom. And this is opposite to the Enlightenment masculine culture when it was more biblical oriented towards God the Father, who commands his children, mankind, be fruitful in Genesis 1, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and have dominion over nature, like subdue the animals, like man is in command of nature, of Mother Nature, is more masculine approach to a more masculine worldview. And if you study our Judeo-Christian culture heritage, which is the foundation of Western civilization, you also have the masculine, the God the Father, but then you have the feminine, in the Holy Trinity, you have the God the Father, and you have the Holy Spirit, which is like a more motherly spirit that unites humanity together. And then you have Jesus, the Son of God. It's like a family structure for mankind, for humanity. So it's the same idea we have in Chinese philosophy of yin and yang, and how as you said, they complement each other, the masculine versus feminine. But when testosterone levels decline, we have a society in conflict because it also has to do with solar cycles, with the sun. Because we need light to grow. Light is essential for our hormones, for our growth hormones, because we all share these growth patterns in nature. Like plants, they get their energy from photosynthesis from the sun, from light. And now we say enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It's from light. So we understand it even in our basic biology, that enlightenment, light leads to growth, to a positive social mood, positive psychology, such as the enlightenment. And what happens when we feel during the darkness, or we feel depressed as today? We have a rapid decline in solar energy, solar activity is in decline. And then you get negative social moods, low testosterone levels, low growth hormones. People are depressed. It's like like the bears going into winter hibernation. And like in the stock market, I come from finance. You see the bull is like full of energy, full of testosterone. The bull market, the same. The
big statue bull. Yeah, on Wall Street, there's that big bull. Yeah,
the big bull. So the opposite of that is the bear market. Why is that? The bear goes to sleep during the winter. It's like low energy. So and then people get depressed, and you even get a Great Depression, like in the 1930s. So I studied the cycles, even from the solar cycles, the light, how it affects our sex hormones, our growth patterns, our social mood, our psychology, and now we are in deep negative psychology, and you can see it all around you with the culture wars and everything.
Yeah, I mean it's something. Hold on, let me switch to my view. Okay. Yeah, that's something that I also talk about as well. Is you've mentioned this whole depressive, taking a lot of. What is it called? The medicine, like antidepressants and stuff like that?
Antidepressants and sleeping pills, because the whole circadian rhythm is when the sex hormones rise in the morning is now messed up.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, my sleeping patterns are all messed up. I gotta sort them out. But something that I noticed was just that I've never really been into taking any sort of mood-altering drugs. I mean, even when someone had some recreationally, and you're young and you go, oh, let me try some of that. I've taken like a little bit of a fraction of it, and I just a little like tip of it, because I have this, I have that. I want to try this, try to try that. I'm like, oh, okay, let me try a little bit. And I remember going to work, and I did not like it. It was like I had like no emotion. I wasn't depressed, but I didn't feel anything. It was just very, there was just like I was just going through the motions of life. It's a really, really terrible, like, I mean, it was just recreationally tried a little bit of it. I was like, nope, don't like mood altering drugs. That is not okay. And it's a normal part of life to have ups and downs and to have emotion. You know what they say, without darkness, what is the light, or something. Like, without you have to have both good and bad in life. And also, just like people have become, without faith, without religion, without family structure, without these things, people then kind of lean towards, like, feminism as a religion. They lean towards going to therapy and taking medication because they lack those sort of structures. And that's something that I noticed too. The more that we turn away from our traditional faith, the more that we lean towards therapy and medicine and other sorts of religions like feminism or leftism.
Yeah, you have these New Age religions which
Right.
worship Mother Nature. It's more like a pagan cult, and they also the anti-procreation, anti-fertility, anti-birth. They promote abortion, infanticide. Sometimes you see they say euthanasia. So the anti-culture of life. So this is the foundation of the West. Is the culture of life. The culture of the Enlightenment is based on the idea of be fruitful and multiply, and that man is in command of nature. So there's the exact opposite. So we're in a regression mode rather than ascension. We're regressing back to the darkness, the dark ages. So the entire philosophy is changing. And you see the radical feminists, they hate life. They had the idea of the Christian, the more the Christian Republicans, they are pro-life, because this is the high testosterone culture, is more masculine. The father figure which wants to have children.
Well, the sun is also masculine. The light, the sun is masculine. The moon is feminine. So that's interesting too.
Right, that's exactly right. In Yin, Chinese philosophy, the yin, the feminine is associated more with the moon, more the darkness, and the yang is the male, is associated with the sun, more light, more energy, is more energetic.
Right. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I'm going to check out your website again, and maybe we can pick out a few things that are on there. Hold on, let me find this. Okay. Oop. Hold on 1 second, guys. Wrong page. All right. Yeah. No, I love your website. It's so clean and beautiful, and look at this artwork at the top. It's so lovely. But yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you. Actually, about art is also interesting. I know you are. I appreciate your art. So you see, the Renaissance art is a period of high testosterone, actually, because if you look at the solar charts, you see that testosterone started to rise during the early Renaissance in the 15th century, and rose all the way to the Enlightenment. Actually, it peaked in 1776 with the Declaration of the Independence, and that's the culture of masculine culture of independence, rebellions against authoritarianism. It characterizes the American founding fathers very high on individualism, reason, the culture of enlightenment. So the Renaissance art, I believe, is also a product of a positive social mood caused by increasing testosterone and serotonin, dopamine. Dopamine is very important for artistic, for orderly, for sticking patterns of order. And you see that in the Renaissance art, the beauty and the glamour of man, showing man as Ayn Rand discussed it in her books about the aesthetics as a philosophy of art, of glamorizing the man as an ideal man, strong. And you see that in what you're showing here, Michelangelo's David, in Bernini's David, also in the.
Oh, I love Bernini's David. Yeah, let me bring that up just because I love Bernini's David so much.
And this is actually opposite to Donatello's David in the early, in the 1400, when it was early Renaissance. So David still looks like a child. It's very feminine and not masculine. He looks like a child, and that was early Renaissance, like 1440s. And then you see that it becomes more masculine with this one is Donatello's David, 1440s. And 70 years later, in the early 1500s, you get Michelangelo's David, which is much more masculine. And in the 16th century, you have Bernini's David, which is like a warrior character, is a peak masculinity. So I think it was like 3 centuries of rising testosterone levels, culminating in the Enlightenment. And then you get the founding fathers founding the United States, like the peak liberty, peak masculine culture that's oriented toward capitalism, individual rights, culture of reason. But since the 1800s, we're reversing that, and it's more like a German philosophy of Kant, which is anti-reason, and more Marx, more collectivism, and Nietzsche, like God is dead. And then you get like later Heidegger and Hitler, which are culture of death. So I say that the life cycles of civilization is actually controlled and regulated by sex hormones. The culture of life versus the culture of death, which you see developing in the 1920s, rising of communism and fascism, like Nazism. So that's all also political movements are affected by sex hormones.
Yeah, I believe it, especially with today's age, with like what you have here. It's like, wow. Literally wearing vaginas and stuff, and you have men doing that as well. It's crazy. But yeah, no, I also love the book covers. The books look fantastic. They're a hardcover.
No, actually, it's a paper cover. It's
Really?
produced by Amazon. It's produced by Amazon, so it's on demand. They print it on demand, you know.
Yeah, no, they look really, really nice and clean. And you have some quotes here. The first one is Mark Twain. What is this? The average man is destitute of independence of opinion. He is not interested in contriving and opinion of his own by study and reflection, but is only anxious to find out what his neighbor's opinion is and slavishly adopt it. What is that about?
Well, I'm interested in my research on the individualism versus collectivism or the herd mentality. So during the Enlightenment, you have high testosterone. People are very self-confident. It's called in psychology an internal locus of control. They feel like they control their destiny. They're not like controlled by nature, by the outside. They're control of nature. So this is the individualist masculine perspective of the Enlightenment. And then you see the opposite, like we have today. You say like people are like ants, we're under the control of the group, of the of society. So we're not in control. We're under the herd mentality, or like cognitive psychology, or these cognitive biases and all this collectivist ideology. So this is also, I believe, a function of sex hormones level when people change their view of human nature. And the psychology of internal locus of control. When you feel you're in command of nature, that's the Enlightenment view. Like Francis Bacon, the great Enlightenment philosopher.
I love Francis Bacon. Yeah, he's an alchemist as well.
Yeah. Actually, I'm interested in alchemy. It's interesting. Renaissance alchemy stuff. Yeah. So Francis Bacon said, nature to be commanded must be obeyed. So this is very interesting contrast, because man is in command of nature, but then he has to obey it. So this is the conflict between men, like in Mother Nature, the masculine versus feminine. When testosterone is a dominance hormone, it leads men to be in command of nature. But then man is also in obedience to nature, because he cannot change the natural laws or the cycles of nature. So this is, I believe, the root of our predicament today, because the cycles are now working against us. And man feels impotent when he has low testosterone, and he loses his control of nature. So you see this conflict between the feminine and masculine of this going through history.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating. Let's go back to this and see what else we got on your website here. You have Auguste Comte? Who's that?
Comte was a French philosopher in the 19th century, and he's interesting. He's a part of like the humanist trend. Is anti-individualism. Is more like a part of he was a Catholic French, but then he became an atheist. But actually, the school of Richard Dawkins, the radical atheist school, originates in Comte's work, because he was like a preacher of altruism and more femininity He called for feminism, altruism, and this is the decline of the masculinity in the West over the last 2 centuries. It affects also, I believe it's very influential in England. So like if you see the Richard Dawkins with his rabid anti-Christianity and anti-God, it's originated with Comte, who is a feminist, the feminist during the French Revolution. So they shut down the churches, and then there was the reign of terror. It's pretty similar to what's going on today with the feminists. They're anti-church, anti-God. They want to shut down the churches, and then they want to replace them with the feminist, atheist ideology. So you have the same with the French Revolution, same trends. And then you get the Napoleonic wars after the reign of terror during the guillotines. And you see, the feminists want to guillotine Trump now. They hate him.
Yeah.
So it's the same spirits, the same hormones playing here.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Let me go back to here. And then this last quote too. John Stuart Mill, A System of Logic. The very elements which in their own nature appear most capricious and uncertain, and which in any individual case no attainable degree of knowledge would enable us to foresee occur when considerable numbers are taken into account with a degree of regularity approaching to mathematical. So what does that mean for you in regard to this subject matter?
Yeah, here we see also in the 19th century, Comte and both Stuart Mill were interested in this early study of sociology. They study social trends like I do today, but they also understood there's a mathematical order or patterns to history that repeat by social action, social behavior, and these patterns can be studied through study of history. So the system of logic, and Comte also was the father of sociology, and he studied these patterns. He says like social physics, we have to make social sciences the same like physics and understand how they work. But today we know we have evolutionary psychology, neuroscience tools that they didn't have back then, so we can do much better work and promote science. The problem is, again, as I said, the academic establishment is becoming anti-science, so there's nobody to do this logical work that Comte and Stuart Mill were discussing.
Very nice. So some people have said some things in the chat, and Adam Shane said, postmodern philosophy / culture is masochism, suffering, and groping in the darkness, but people don't realize it when that's what they're busy doing. Yeah,
absolutely. When you have a low testosterone, people are depressed. They are obsessed with being oppressed, with sacrifice, self-sacrifice, altruism. They're against power, masculine power, dominance, and they want to suppress. Like in Islam, why the feminist life in Islam? Because Islam means submission. It's the opposite of dominance and independence. So they want collective submission. That's why they bring in the Islamists to conquer and rape the West into submission. So the very, very powerful forces, I think, at work here that are rooted in our evolutionary psychology.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was also this conversation, I'm not sure who said this, maybe Gavin, something back in 2016 where it was that, feminists and stuff don't have children. They're very anti-children and all that, but we can't escape the way that we are, being men and women, and they kind of focus their maternal ways in a really odd way, a counterintuitive way actually, where they're trying to control and nurture society and the world, and it's just they're taking their kind of control of family unit and being parental and trying to put it on society and tell government and everything how to do and how to be, and they have this good nature to, because we're not saying that women are bad, we're not saying femininity is bad, it's just it's misplaced right now. So instead of having the children, we're kind of focusing on you know how the feminists act about like illegal immigration, where oh, you're separating families and this and that, and they feel like they want to protect and that they're doing good and that they're being protectors, but it's just misplaced. When in reality, like if they focus that in a family and on their own, then the men can go off and do what they're meant to do, which is deal with real realities of the world, you know, out there. You know, there is crime, there is danger, there are wars, there are things that men have to deal with, and women try to insert themselves in these situations because they don't have their own family.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Actually, I think the feminists are anti-feminine. They don't want femininity as also sexual connotations, sexual attraction between the man and the female. And actually, what you see is the return, like to the Dark Age Augustine doctrine of original sin. Like the sex is now a sin. Right. They're anti-sex. Like in the 1960s, if you see Camille Paglia, the second wave feminism were like more for free sex, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They're anti-family, but they were pro-sex. Now they're anti-sex. It's more like we're becoming nuns and monks again. So we're like going deeper into dark ages when testosterone levels are really low now, and people are anti-sex at all, not even for casual sex. And you see even the hookup culture in the colleges is now declining. People, like 30% of college students don't have sex at all.
Well,
even
that's
because they're 30.
They're scared of being called a rapist. So, yeah, there's someone else that made some comments. It says, great talk so far. Lowered T levels have definitely contributed to the culture decline we are currently living in. Unfortunately, hormone-disturbing chemicals are all around us and in things we eat. Lifting weights, it jumped. Lifting weights, shifting your mindset to a more masculine one is a start. Then you have to fix up your diet, stay away from hormone-altering plastics, etc. Plastics?
Yeah, I think that's also true. We have a problem with it's called estrogens. I forgot the exact term, but the phytoestrogens. When you have plastics, the body thinks it's estrogen, and even if you eat soy is like estrogen. Yeah, soy, so it causes a feminization. But I think people don't understand anything about the chronobiology. I mean, the solar cycles and sun and the light, how it affects our hormones as well. Because unfortunately, as I said, the academics deny. They don't want to discuss the science of hormones. They just hate testosterone and masculinity, and that's it. But if you see that they tell people today to be in the dark, not to be in the sun or to be in the light, and that causes depression and less testosterone and serotonin as well, because you need light to grow, and it's defined in our biology that we have to be in the light. And there's a culture of darkness, actually. It's not a mistake that people call it the Dark Ages dark, and you have the Augustine doctrine of original sin. Like, don't have sex during the Dark Ages, people become nuns and monks. Because when solar activity declines and you have darkness, our bodies go into winter hibernation mode and we don't have sex. That's why the people are now against sex. They don't have babies. They don't want to be mothers, the feminists. And it's all controlled by these solar and hormonal cycles. And I'm trying to expose the truth to bring science forward and make progress. But unfortunately, I cannot publish my articles in the U.S. and Britain because they're too feminist. But now I'm getting published in Italy, or hopefully in Japan. And so I think the truth will come out eventually, but it will take time. I just published my books last year and a few years ago. So this is a scientific revolution that we will have to go through, of how we understand science and the philosophy, our place, our hormones, our mind and body connection, and it will probably take decades. But I believe we're going to be going through a big scientific revolution here. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, it really is. So. Also, I think so. You have 3 books, right? So there's 1, 2, 3. The Objective Bible. Was that your first one? Yeah, 2014.
Right. Yeah, I started with studying philosophy because it helps me to understand the human mind, how people think, and then then I went in more into biology and hormones and psychology and integrated everything together. So it took me 3 books to bring everything, the whole theory.
Yeah. Is that a William Blake painting? I love your covers. They're really good books. Yeah, Western civilization's struggle for philosophic liberation from a herd mentality and pagan mysticism. And then there's the testosterone hypothesis. How hormones regulate the life cycles of civilization. Yeah, you mentioned that as well. Yeah, I love that book cover as well. Yeah, you were mentioning the life cycles and how they relate to the testosterone levels in them. And then your most recent one, 2018, is Sex Wars, how hormones drive gender, race, and culture conflicts. So, yeah, what are those three pillars that you have there? How hormones drive gender, race, that's interesting, and culture conflicts. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, of course. Well, the gender, you see the wars today, but they're also connected to race wars and ethnic wars, to religious wars between the Islam and the Christianity. And I think it all originates in the evolution of sexual reproductive strategies. Because what's going on is similar, like you have the lion. If you see the alpha male lion, it protects the females and the territory. So you have the territorial imperative to protect the resources, the females.
Did you say lion?
I mean the male lion, how he protects his pride.
Yeah, the animal lion. Yeah, that's also actually a masculine sun. That's the Leo, which is lion, is the sun. It's just masculine. I don't know. It's just it's all connected, kind of. So go
interesting. I didn't know that. I will look it up. Interesting stuff. Every day I learn something new. Yeah. So what you see when the lion gets older, what happens is a new contender comes, and he will beat him and kick him away, or even kill him, and then he will kill the cubs of the other lion, and take over the females. So you see, it's like a race war, you can call it. Like if you see the same thing going on, like in Europe now, when you have the feminists bringing in the Islamists, and they raping a lot of teenage girls, like in England or Sweden and stuff, taking over the culture. So that's how dominance hierarchies that controlled by testosterone and sex hormones also lead to sex wars, race wars, culture wars, because the entire culture changes. And when Western men fall, it's the same like the lion, the alpha male falls, and a new one will come and replace him. That's the way of nature. Right. It's not in a vacuum. Something else will take the place. Right. So, like you see the Roman Empire, for example, it became more feminine with less fertility. They became like more nuns and monks. And then you see the barbarians coming and taking over Rome, raping it and pillaging it. And then another cycle again of rise into the Middle Ages. And so you have these cycles of history repeating. And we are going through a decline right now.
Yeah, well, let me switch so people can see me again real quick. Hi, guys. I'm in my library, by the way. This is my library. So what do you suggest? What do we do about it? You know, like what can we do as individuals and as a society?
Well, I'm in favor of the Enlightenment culture of man's mind, command over nature, positive social mood, positive psychology, being in internal locus of control mode. And I think we can actually understand how nature works if we put our mind to it. But the problem is, as I said, it's not happening right now in the academy in the West. But I think in Central Europe, actually, Italy, Hungary, and more to the east in Japan and China, you see more masculine cultures, less feminine. So I think the center of power will move more to the east. And the same process happened when the Western Roman Empire fell. You see the Eastern Roman Empire in Byzantium. It became a center of civilization. So the center of civilization changed. And I think we will eventually learn the science of endocrinology, the hormones, the psychology, how they affect our science and psychology, and eventually mankind will learn to control the cycles, or the feminine versus masculine, the hormonal balance. The hormonal balance is very important, and that's a work in progress. I mean, science is progressing, even though sometimes it seems regressing, but there is a certain pattern to history.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that it's nature. It'll correct itself eventually. And, if we have to fall, we have to fall. But eventually, we'll figure out how to regulate itself, and hopefully, we can regulate before we go to a fall. Because let me tell you, I'm tired of falling. I had we had the financial crisis in my early 20s in 2007, so it's been pretty bad economy for me my entire 20s, and then we've had the Obama era, and so I was hoping that things would correct itself so that I can at least have my 30s and on be a little bit better. I really hope we don't have to fall too much more, but what can we do? What can we do? So, yeah, let me go back to the internet here. And so, I mean, guys, this is why I'm doing this. Spread around, like Testosterone and Civilization on Twitter. Share the content, and spread the book around. You want to get a book. I mean, this is what we need to be doing more often too, is reading. It's not just headlines, not just stuff on Twitter. So if you're in the position to be able to buy books and read books, can't believe I have to say that, but go ahead and do it, because this is not just supporting people that we may agree with politically, but learn a little something, and this is how we do it. We have to educate ourselves on things, not just read headlines and Twitter. But if you are not in the means, I know I have some young viewers. If you're not really in the means to be able to purchase things, because this is on Amazon. It's on Amazon. If you're not in that position, then at least you could do is follow and share content and support other people that are doing some really good work, because there's just a lot of interesting stuff and educated people out. Oh, this is an interesting article too, actually, that you shared. It's from the Standard in the UK. The UK is crazy, man. I'm in the UK right now. And it says adverts featuring harmful gender stereotypes banned in UK. Apparently this is harmful.
Oh yeah. The UK, I think, is going too deep in the.
It's really deep
in gender studies. I tried to submit a few papers to science journals there, but the feminists reject you immediately if it's anything pro testosterone. In the US, the APA, the American Psychological Association, now defines masculinity as harmful or even mental illness. So. I think. Actually, I don't understand why the right wing is not more proactive in science. That's a shame, because there is no balancing here between for the right wing. I mean, they do a lot of good works with politics and Trump, but in science, the right wing is very weak, very weak. Even Jordan Peterson, who I really appreciate his work on psychology, and he even discusses hormones and serotonin and social status, masculinity. He hardly ever discusses the collapse in testosterone levels, which is so obvious.
Right.
So we have a lot of work to do, and I hope some people will rise up to the challenge.
Yeah, we definitely need some more people rising up to the challenge, because it's really important for civilization. We got to do this. And I mean, this is just shocking me though right now, because which it shouldn't. None of this stuff should really shock me. But it says the Advertising Standards Authority introduced the ban after its review of gender stereotyping in adverts could play a part in limiting the roles that people carry out and aspire to. And I clicked on this thing. There's an entire document about qualitative research for gender stereotyping in advertising. What? Report for the Advertising Standards Authority prepared by GFK UK. There's a whole research document and a whole study on gender stereotyping in advertisements. I mean, really?
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of resources the academy, the feminists, they control all the social sciences. So you see, like if you have a man like Jonathan Haidt, I mean, he's not a conservative, he's like a centrist or liberal, but they are afraid to speak out. They say they are self-censoring there because they can be shut down and persecuted. We are in the same zone like Galileo, I think. If scientists are shut down in the academy, so science cannot exist in this fashion. So it will have to come from outside independent institutions. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson is incredible. Jordan Peterson incredibly courageous, and but he's only one person. I mean, is one person versus an entire establishment. You cannot do so much alone. So it's a real problem. I think the right wing should support science much more. It's a shame what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying too. Because I studied math, so I love science. And I'm into alchemy, which is a precursor to science, and I think so as well. I mean, I think the left have pinned the right as anti-science, and the global warming and this and that, but and we're into faith and all that. But I think lately the left is anti-science because they're refusing to acknowledge things like gender differences and sex. There's this whole thing with the difference between gender and sex. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I think. I think the right should reclaim science. So because what happened during the Enlightenment, the right wing, I mean, Newton was a religious Christian conservative.
And an alchemist. Yeah.
Yeah, they were English Puritans, were extremely biblical worldview. Yeah. They were leading science. But what happens is, since Darwin and evolution became anti-Christian, anti-God, is that the left and the feminists took over science. But now they're becoming anti-science because they're anti-testosterone, anti-male bias. So they claim that sex is not biological, that gender is not biological. So they become totally anti-science. They're discrediting themselves. But then there is no one in the right to take their place because the right wing is not interested in science. I think also it's more interested in politics, like Trump politics, but nobody's doing anything for science. So it's abandoned. Science is abandoned.
Yeah, I've also been saying that we need to do our own long march into the institutions because, we're getting really focused on activism. And that was great, especially in the beginning, because there's really no one out there saying, wait a minute, this is a bit crazy, guys. I don't agree with you. These are our ideals. And that was really great to kind of kick things off and have other people go, yeah, it's true. I don't like this SJW stuff either. And it's really important, but now we need to go to the next levels and we have to do the long march into the institutions. We have to get into, get your tenure to be a teacher or a professor, get in there, study, go to school. And, there's also been this issue with the Kyle Kashoff kid, the Parkland kid that got rejected from, not rejected, but they rescinded his application to Harvard. And, I see a lot of right-wingers being like, Harvard sucks anyway. Oh, whatever, screw university. Why do we don't care about this stuff? And it's like, no, you should. You should care about university. Yes, and I know I'm the type of person that left university as well because I was like, it's a bad investment. It's getting more and more expensive, yet less and less valuable. But for some people, it is the bigger picture. It is important still, and I think that we should be encouraging people to get into the universities, be professors in those universities, secure positions in those universities, get into, MIT and all that, and which actually has been doing fairly well, but they are getting infiltrated by leftist ideology. But it was kind of one of the last to get infiltrated, the math and sciences. Get back Hollywood. The golden age of Hollywood was Republican. People go, "Oh, Hollywood, that's leftist. That's leftist." It's like, no, it used to be Republican, but after McCarthyism, they kind of slowly, secretly got in there and started spreading themselves around and took it over. So, I think we need to be doing that as well. Like you said, the right isn't interested in it, and I think we should be. We should definitely be interested in science and proving it through science that we're right about stuff, and also taking over the infrastructure. And yes, some people think it's too long to do the long march into the institutions, and that's fine. You can do ways of making an impact quicker and faster, but we need to kind of attack from all angles, kind of like a cancer, and attack it from the long way and the short way.
Yeah, of course. I think there's some initiatives by Trump to regulate the feminists in the academy, to try to their attempt to censor the right wing, but it's very, very shallow. There's not enough power in the right. Other than Jordan Peterson, you don't see any great right-wing social scientists. It's amazing. He's one person in the whole academic establishment standing for masculinity. That's incredible to me.
Yeah.
There are some centrists like Jonathan Haidt, but he's very careful in the way he discusses these issues. So it's not an encouraging picture at all. But maybe at some point people will wake up. In Italy I see a counter-reaction. I love the Italian Academy now. They accepted my recent article for publication, and even I submitted 2 articles now. So in Italy, you see a nationalist masculine government, and they're promoting now anti all this gender bias in the universities. As same thing in Hungary. So I think in Central Europe you see some encouraging signs. So we may hope that maybe.
Yeah, Croatia's not a big country, but they are. I have Croatian heritage. My mom's from there, and father. But it's not a big country or anything. I don't think they have a lot of influence, but they are a nationalist kind of conservative people. I'm not saying the government is right wing, but the people in there, they certainly are on our side about a lot of stuff. Even if their media or their government people in power are leftist or infiltrators, the people will support. So, worth a try. Spread your stuff around there. Maybe get some Croatian fans.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you see what's interesting is the countries that were under Soviet Union are more conservative today and Christian than the West.
Yes.
But I think that's because the German influence, like you see the Frankfurt School was a radical feminist ideology. Influenced the West, but because during the Soviet era was the block between the wall between the West and the Eastern Europe, so it remained more conservative, more like 19th century family values oriented. So so a lot of different political influences.
Yeah, it's definitely true too. That's kind of why I'm a conservative or right wing or whatever you want to call me. It's just I was raised by a mom who's experienced communism and is very anti-communism, and a lot of former Soviet countries, like you said, are pretty right-wing. So it's because they know firsthand. It's just these, millennial leftists that they don't know any better. They think there's something in that. But can you believe it's been an hour already? We just an hour flew by. So I'm gonna see if my other guy is ready, but you can throw in whatever else you want to say to the chat while I message the next interviewee. So just go for it. Pitch your stuff or make your last points if you want, Roy.
Okay, good, great. So if you're interested, take a look at my website. Is testosteronecivilization.com. One word, testosteronecivilization.com. And there you can see my articles, other interviews on YouTube. I have the 3 books you can look into if you're interested. And I think it's worthwhile to study a bit more about hormones, which is very neglected subject in our conversation, public conversation, dialogue in the academia. And we can learn a lot about how the mind-body connection is very important. How the hormones influence both body and mind. And the philosophy, psychology, biology, everything is interconnected. The energy, spirituality is connected with light and positive energy and sex hormones. And you see it in Chinese philosophy of yin yang, they understand it. In the Bible, you have it like God the Father created light and be fruitful and multiply. As more sex hormones. So everything is interconnected, and I think we should pay attention and more and study these issues.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of my viewers are male. We got a few women in there, Sandra and stuff, but this is something really important for you guys. A lot of young men too. We got Jay in there, who's like a 20-year-old boy. And a lot of young men. I think Bionic Nationalist. Hey, what's up? He's in there. He named himself after Lord Byron, the poet, and they're all young college students and stuff. So we have a lot of young men in the audience, and they're really loving what you're saying, and I think it's really important, especially for these young men, to think about and share. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 21, fam, he says. Okay. Yeah, let me check. If you guys have any questions also while I see, let me check my Skype real quick, but come up with some questions while I'm looking for this other guy, and put them in the chat. Oh, I see. Okay, he accepted me. Okay. Hey, I'm gonna call you. All right, yeah, so let me see what you guys are saying, because I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to now get on a call with, this is Comicsgate scene. So an artist, he's got a comics campaign, and this is something that's also really important, is the arts and culture. And there's a lot going on with Comicsgate. And just so you know, Roy, too, this whole Comicsgate scene is really interesting. Hold on, let me just message him. Yeah, the Comicsgate thing is really interesting. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the comic book scene has gotten really... there's been a bit of a war with them as well, because they've been taking over... making Spider-Man half black, half Latino, and gay. They've had gay marriages. They're turning a lot of the male characters into women characters, and so it's upset a lot of like hardcore, just regular dude kind of comic book fans, and so there's become a separation, and it's called Comicsgate, and they take a lot of beautiful female characters, and they say that, oh, that's misogynistic, you're just trying to sexualize them, why do they have big boobs and look so feminine, and they remake them and turn them into like emasculated men looking kind of, it's like you can't tell if they're a man or a woman. So I feel like even the feminists, like I don't know what they're trying to do, some weird hybrid of genders where you can't really tell if it's a man or a woman. And so some of these comic skaters, I'm going to interview now another one, and they definitely like to do the manly man comics. So even in entertainment, I think it's a really important thing, and we've got people fighting from all angles. So I'm about to get on a call with someone that is fighting the war that way. All right, I'm about to call him. Thank you so much, Roy, for coming on. And you know what? Let's do it again soon. It was really great.
Thanks a lot. Great to talk with you.
Yeah, so nice to meet you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, let's get this guy on. Ooh, hey.
How's it going? Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I think so. Ooh, there's an echo. Do you have headphones, maybe?
Hold on a second.
I can hear myself. Sorry, I don't mean to be like, get headphones. Oh, wait.
No. Let me see. I don't have your.
I don't hear myself anymore. Hold on. Yeah, no.
You good?
Yeah, I think it regulated. There was something weird going on. But yeah, it regulated itself. Cool.
Do I need my lights up better, or you see me okay?
Yeah, let me get you on the screen. And make sure you look pretty. How's that? Look at you. Can you see yourself?
I can see me in the little corner. As long as you can see me, that's all that matters.
Oh yeah, you're on like a television screen right now. It looks cool.
I got the OBS set up and the green screen and all that. I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah, I say that I'm all about aesthetics. I'm an artist and I'm about aesthetics, so I might as well give them the aesthetics that I promised them. And I don't know if you could see it. If you put up that link that I sent you of the in the chat, but turn the volume down, you can at least see what we're working with here. And I'm on an old vintage TV, and I'm in my library.
I was watching earlier, actually. Yeah, you guys are doing great.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm in my library, and each stream I like to be in a different room in my palace, if you know what I mean.
Of course. It's awesome.
But you're looking really fun too. Okay, look at this. It looks like you're in a log cabin. I love it.
I live in a log cabin.
Dude, that's awesome.
I rarely leave it. It's my castle.
That is awesome. I was just talking to a guy that does research on testosterone and civilization and stuff like that. So he was just talking about how low T levels are contributing to decline in society and stuff, and all that. And you got your hat, you've got your log cabin, and you've got your comic books. So we're not low T. You got a beard. We are not low T. We're not low T.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I haven't had my levels officially checked, but I'm doing okay. I got 6 kids.
Oh, wow.
I do, yeah. 6 kids. I got 3 boys, 3 girls. So my boys are all, strong boys, ready for the military if needed.
Wow. Wow, that is amazing. I have 5 siblings, so my mom had the 6 kids, but I don't have them yet. Hold on,
It's fun. It's fun having a big family.
Yeah, man. So, it's nice to see you on screen. Finally, and okay, I'm putting me back on. Okay, nice to see you, and we've been communicating. I think I retweet you a lot. I try to support the arts. I've got my comic book.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, and so tell me what's going on. What are you working on, and what's going on?
Yeah. Well, right now we have released our second title for Cautionary Comics, OFFWORLDER. It's a story that I developed many years ago. The comic, it's a 48-page comic written by the amazing Mike Barron, co-creator of Nexus. And it tells a fun, star-spanning saga of the Offworlder, a 7th century Scottish lord that gets ripped from time and space, becomes more of a cosmic demigod to fight against an ancient evil.
Well, that is super fun. Are you Scottish by any means? Wait, so
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henderson. So yeah, I'm definitely. And actually, what got me going with the idea, I was researching my ancestry, doing all my genealogy, and there's an ancestor of mine, from through Scotland called Henry Gunn. And he was, big Henry Gunn. He was this big, kind of larger than life character. And I, heard of, actually bought a big book of the history of Clan Gunn years ago. And that's what got me cooking.
Wow. That is so freaking cool. Yeah. I'm doing something similar, not through my I'm switching. Man, I have to like operate this thing. I gotta get one of those. Like push button things that is like, okay, that scene, because I keep trying to talk and like change these like tabs on OBS. So my Lady Alchemy one is similar. I mean, I got inspiration from me. But it's always really exciting to kind of dig deep into, yourself, to have these inspirations, and especially nowadays what we're dealing with, and what we were just talking about with the other guy on the stream about this political divide, plus I don't know what your deal is. If you're
I'm more of a libertarian,
right?
kind of guy, live and let live, but I definitely don't like, the strain of anti-Americanism that's everywhere. We're all here, in America, we're all supposed to be American, and that meant something. That was first you had to be a citizen. Number one, to be American and do anything. Secondly, that citizenship came with responsibility, and that's the part that people forget. Really just on the coast, though. That's my view of it. There's some big coastal cities that have one mindset. It's a hive mind, weird, kind of thinking, and they control the media. So it seems like it's everybody, but it's not. I traveled for 20 years all over the world. I've been all over America. And, I just don't see that people are really putting down, even on the left, the whole, politically correct. I don't know what the term of the day is anymore, but, people just want to be everyday people, right? And remember that old song, Everyday People?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's what everybody wants. And, I've been to just everywhere. I've been to the Middle East. I've been to India. I've been to Scotland. I've been to all over America. Everybody likes to eat. Everybody just likes to go and have fun. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel like looking at I was having it up on the screen. I'm going to put it back up, but it just makes me excited to see you kind of dig deep into some of your roots. It looks like a manly man kind of thing, and let me switch gears again. And it's culturally relevant, and it's exciting. I'm happy to see that you did some sort of Scottish thing. It's kind of cool. I like it.
Thank you. I wanted, I love the story. It's one of my. Obviously, I released it second. I could have done Ravage but Kill All Men #2 and gotten that out, but I'm actually going to do that next. The Ravage Kill All Men with Chuck Dixon story that we put out.
Oh, nice.
We're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to do it in a complete saga. So the next Indiegogo will be for the rest of the story, 100 plus more pages. And then, I just had to get this one out. It's really one of my favorite projects. It's has a lot of depth. It's a great sci-fi story. It has morals to the story that I want to get across to my lineage, to my family and my friends and everyone.
And that's what storytelling is all about. That's what entertainment is all about, and that's why it's so important. And I'm just making a point to the right here. If you don't consider yourself right, that's fine. But hey, right-wingers, this is why it's important. We pass things on to not only the world, the culture of the time right now, and instill some sort of values, but also for the future and our children. Right. I mean, today, I would definitely say I'm right. Politically. Back in the day, I was the libertarian kind of, I was into libertarian. I think still the same guy. I think that, the parties, quote unquote, have changed or something's changed. No, that's true. The goalpost has moved way far left. So, I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, I've always been a Republican my whole life, but I think that I considered myself socially liberal up until the point where, it was politically, socially not correct to kind of say the things that I was saying. And then I'm like, well, I guess I'm socially right-wing now because I don't agree with that shit. Right. I always said forever, I'm militarily and financially conservative for the nation. I was in the military, Wounded Warrior Project. Please donate, wwp.org. But socially liberal, do your thing, leave everybody alone. We're in the land of the free, liberty and freedom, liberty or death. But I don't know. Everything's just gotten so far, wacky, crazy. I think it's going to turn back to normal. Everybody's getting tired of it. It's not working. Yeah, it's definitely annoying. But okay, so I was flipping through your campaign, and I'm actually just like, wow, really impressed. Because yeah, we got into this whole concept of some Scotland dude. It's really cool. Now, oh my god, everyone's gonna probably bust my chops over this, but it is like, is Braveheart like? Is that Scottish? Is that guy Scottish? So that's why it kind of reminds me of the thing on
Yes,
his
Braveheart from Scotland. He was actually a historical figure. Now the portrayal, portrayal by Mel Gibson, who did it. It wasn't really accurate. It was a Hollywood version of Braveheart, the Braveheart story. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I like the costuming and the makeup on the eye. It just reminded me of that, and I'm like, is that a Scottish thing? Like, I don't know.
It is. It is. Do you see the lightning bolt on the Offworlder? That's my tribute to Bowie.
Oh, cool. Okay.
They set sideways across the face, just a little something, a lightning,
Cool.
But plus, it really fits in with his cosmic. You'll see, kind of all goes into the mythology and who he is as a character.
Yeah, so I was kind of scrolling through, and I'm just like, oh wow, I'm gonna go through kind of page by page on your Indiegogo because I was just like, wow, this is actually really cool. Let me make sure that my OBS.
The artist amazing. Jordi Amathal. He's in Barcelona, Spain. Amazing artist. It has that that cool 70s sci-fi style to me. That kind of that classic style. It's 48 pages. The part 1 is 48-page graphic novel, and we're also including a 24-page one-shot crossover with Mike Miller's characters Lone Star and my characters from Ravage in a crossover called Blood in the Jungle.
Blood in the Jungle. Okay.
And that's 24 pages. 24 pages, Blood in the Jungle. You have newsprint options and you have high gloss options, so you could get both the 48-page Offworlder and the 24-page Blood in the Jungle for only $27 shipped in the U.S. or $33 shipped internationally.
Wow, that's actually really good. I mean, I think my comic book is going for 30-something with shipping, and it's still shipping is kicking my ass. It's kicking my ass.
Shipping's been horrible, yeah. Shipping's been horrible for me, too.
I didn't realize. Plus, I've been sending things out separately, because, like, as soon as I get, like, a shirt, the shirt's printed, or posters, I've been like, get them out to people. Like, I just want to make sure people get stuff, and then I'm not just sitting on this money. So, I sent it out, and then I went, shit, like, now I'm losing money because of shipping. God damn it. Because we still have to ship. We still have to ship other things to these same people. Damn it. Yeah. So then there's like this Egyptian kind of thing happening here.
Well, you're right. You're right. It really ties back to ancient Egypt, to ancient Scotland. There's a story about a princess named Skoda. An Egyptian princess named Skoda, that she was pursued. She ends up going into Scotland and forming a relationship with people there, and becomes kind of the ruler and namesake of Scotland, Skoda. So I thought that was a really interesting connection. Reading my history and reading Scottish history and stuff. So I took that idea and fantasized it.
That's really cool.
Ended up getting in my brain, and it's added to the universe now.
It must be cool to see it come to life, because when my artist has been sending me some stuff yesterday and today about what he's working on, and it gets so exciting to see kind of your stuff come to life, and just the artwork is genuinely really good. I mean, I have an art stream on Tuesday, so me and my artist kind of go over some stuff. But if you look at guys, if you were on yesterday's stream, we were talking about line work, and I love when like they do hair that has a lot of like line work in the hair. Like look at this guy's hair on the left frame here, the top left, actually on the bottom left, and just like the hair is really cool, and also the little dots. I was talking yesterday about these little dots.
Like the Kirby Crackle?
I have no idea what it's called. my artist could probably say what it is again. He was explaining how they do it and how they shoot the ink and blah, blah, blah. I think it's like half tone.
What you mean now. Yeah.
What is it called?
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool effect. And also the line work on her legs and the shading here. I love it. And then there's like the black and white stuff, which, like, again, look at the guy's face. looks so cool, and that line work and the makeup. I love his makeup.
I love that panel, the panel at the bottom there, Off-Worlder's reaction.
That's what I'm saying.
The
Yeah,
bottom,
his face.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great face shot. Yeah, I like it. And then,
well, you asked. I mean, that's one of the number one things for me is to see this come to life.
Yeah.
It's definitely a passion project. It's definitely a labor of love. It's not necessarily a profitable endeavor versus other endeavors in the world that you could be participating in, but it's a lot of fun to see it in your hand and to see people enjoy it and to get it made, and it'll last forever. Once you get it made, it'll last forever.
Yeah, it's cool. And then some of the inking gets a bit darker, which I really like the contrast of this stuff, with the background getting all smoky, and this action scene really looks like action.
Yeah, it does, right?
I
mean, you can feel the movement.
Yeah.
You really get immersed into the story once you dive into it, and it. Like Mike Barron said, what we like to do at Cautionary with our stories, we like to grab the reader by the throat and drag them along for a ride. If you can put it down, we don't feel we did our job right.
Yeah, man, I hope my story is okay now. No, my artwork looks really
beautiful.
good.
The story's awesome. I think it's really cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. You researched alchemy too. I listened to that on the last stream. I didn't know that.
You were listening to some alchemy stream?
No, I was listening to you on your last stream. You said you researched or you studied, you read about alchemy.
Oh, yeah. I do a whole alchemy stream on Thursdays, so tomorrow. And, I mean, that was my passion, actually, before I was Lady Alchemy, was researching alchemy and all that stuff. I mean, I studied math, so I know, science, and alchemy is a precursor to science. And I always liked art, so it was Leonardo da Vinci and Isaac Newton were alchemists and scientists in their own right, and artists, so it kind of, the study just grew and grew and grew. And then when I was a performer, I was very, hold on, I'm going to switch it to me just so people can see me talk, and then I'll get back to your artwork. And then when I started performing, I was really, there was something missing, because it was very much like all the other girls. It was just routines that were very boom, boom, now I'm doing something sexy, cheesecakey, burlesque stuff. And I was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I was like, I miss the alchemy and math weirdness to who I am. And now I'm only just doing this sexy artsy stuff, and I realized that a lot of you can even look at pop stars, any brand name or whatever. It's a lot of these personalities, they created a persona, and I was like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, I can be Lady Alchemy, I can put the alchemy with my performing, and then it satisfies that nerdy alchemy aspect.
It sounds cool too. It's a cool brand. It sounds mysterious. It's awesome.
Thank you. Okay, enough about me. This is about you today. And then like I said, this inking work starts to get really more contrasty and looks so cool. I love this sexy bed action, and then got her butt. Look at that butt, guys. And then and look at his muscles.
For everyone in the story, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, there is. Look at his muscles. Talk about high tea. Damn, look at that guy. And the shadowing looks good with that. Yeah, again, more of the contrasty inking starts to look really, really cool.
I couldn't be more happy with the art. I mean, it's just really look at this one. Look, I love this one next. He's majestically looking up, ready to take on whatever's up.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, are you doing any text bubbles, or you're just showing the art right now?
I'm just showing the art right now. We're putting it all together. We already have 24 pages done. We have 24 pages done. We're doing another 24. Jordy's working on it right now. Mm-hmm. By the end, within the next 2 months, we're going to have the print file done, because within 90 days after our completion, we're going to have all fulfillment completed.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's the mission.
And then it starts to get weird, and there's aliens. This is where the sci-fi bit comes in.
Yeah, yeah, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is just the first. Now, all of this is just in the first few pages. Maybe the first, Act 1 of Act 1. So it gets a lot cooler and weirder and action packed from here.
Look at this alien. Gross.
There's another great shot of him too.
Yeah. Ooh, that's like my library. Look at it.
We knew exactly what it was. We copied you.
That's like my library. Do I have aliens living here?
I think, you know what I'm smelling? I'm smelling crossover. Lady in the world of Offworlder.
Yeah, man. And then let's keep looking here. We got books. We got ancient texts and shit. I see it.
Jordy even drew the books. Yeah, he said that.
I see what's happening here. And they got the Celtic costume stuff. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm actually having the color done in my clan's ancient tartan colors.
What?
Yeah, all the coloring is based on the historic of my line.
That's really cool. Yeah, see, that's like all the little personal touches. And see, this is why it's so great, too, because, we talk about, I say we, I don't know about you, but when I have been on Ethan's show, there's stuff sometimes we talk about how, DC and Marvel, if they've just kind of focused it on being, like this money-making machine, and therefore it becomes less, it's less about the customers, and it's like less personalized. It's less, exciting. It just becomes
it's less cool.
Right.
They're so afraid to make a mistake that they're trying to do all this market research. Chuck Dixon told me this when we were talking about when we first started getting together, and it's true. Do you think Van Halen did any market research before they started playing in Cali?
Yeah.
Did the Beatles do a bunch of freaking market research and no, they just started jamming and putting out the stuff that they wanted, Right. And that's what's great about crowdfunding, right? We put out Offworlder, we're going to see if it flies, we're going to see who's going to join with us. If it doesn't take off, we're moving to Ravage number 2. You can test out in a marketplace of ideas and see what people are going to like and what they're going to get, But I just think, I think they really forgot how to be cool. They forgot what got them there with these cool stories. And, since both of the big cities, LA and New York, are really in this hive mind, Stan Lee, and Marvel always said, we're going to write stories about what we see outside our window. Yeah. Right, that sounds nice, but now they live in super high rises in Manhattan. That's not my window. My window is very different. I'm writing about what's outside my window.
Right.
Right. Which is very different than LA, and you know what? Most people don't live in $60 million downtown buildings and stuff. That's not.
I know not everyone has this kind of library in their home, so.
Of course.
Sorry about it,
That's true. I don't consider you normal people. I said normal people.
I'm definitely not normal.
Not at all, but we're great stuff. We're creating great stuff. It's that line of genius and madness. Putting yourself out there and putting your work out there. And but yeah, I have a fun with it. I know a lot of the guys. This is their career. And that's awesome. I want to launch this business and do as best as we can for everybody, and make some great stories. And, I'm doing it more as a place of, out of love, more of a passion project than needing to. I love in this time frame. Look at you, look at me, look at all of the indie creators that have just sprung up, we're all creating, and everybody's like, we're Hollywood, Marvel, DC, we see what you're doing, and we feel we can do it better.
Yeah.
We feel we can, it's just, and if not, we're making our own community at least, of people that are like-minded.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to say, too, about it. Just like, not only is our work like really personal to us, therefore more authentic and really resonates with people on a better level than it being sterile and but we're also we're also creating this world. We're creating. Moss hates the word community, but but it's true. We are creating a scene. This whole new world, and that's what we need to do. And that's, as far as the culture war goes, that's what we should be doing. And I hope more people kind of pick up on it. I mean, the comics world, like all of us creators, you and I and whatever, like we are all supportive, and we've definitely created our scene. But now it's about getting people that are kind of outside the comics world kind of pick up on that and go, oh, I see what they're doing. Like, this is really cool, and get invested into our universe, I guess, right? That's what we call it, our universes.
I think so. I think people on the right, or even just people in the middle, if you want better content, especially if you have a means to create movies or whatever it may be,
right.
Look outside the Hollywood bubble, and you'll get some fresh new stuff. People, now I always get asked by people, hey, what can I do for crowdfunding, and what's the best thing for success? It's absolutely really building, like you're doing, and what we're doing here, building up your own channel, connecting with your audience. That's something that I haven't necessarily been focused on, for YouTube. I really, more enjoy the writing a lot more than doing, YouTube every day. But, if you ask my teachers, my mom or my wife, I don't do what I don't want to do. So it's kind of hard to make me do it. But if you have the gumption and you have the desire to really do it, make a YouTube channel, connect with people, talk every day, talk about different subjects. And, in the meantime, Sweetcast does that really well. He's a creator and, a news commentator. Right, I love that channel. It's really good.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're not a creator, I mean, we need people to. I know that there's a lot of people that aren't even particular comic book fans, but they go see Marvel or DC movies. They like to be entertained. They listen to music, but they're not musicians. So I think it's a matter of really other people picking up on the entertainment or the literature. It's also writing, it's also storytelling, it's not just comics, it's also art. So if you're into being entertained or storytelling or art, so I think that other people that can enjoy it should really pick up on it and support it. And even if you don't want to be a commentator, you can be an observer and a supporter, share, whatever it is, because this is how we fight the culture war.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I love also what Doug Ernst is doing. He has a comic out right now called Soulfinder Demons Match. It's doing awesome, already at 10K. The art, it looks amazing. They have a Dave Dorman cover, but he's talking about advertising, in different places, different websites, He was advertising. It's about, it's Catholicism and action. It's set in a world in the Vatican with spiritual demon hunters, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he advertised on some Catholic sites. So let's see if that's good. Maybe I might start buying some ad space on some Scottish sites.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, whatever works. Okay, so hold on a second. I'm gonna change gears here. Okay, now it's on me. And I have Tim Bob said, Martina, I have a question. Wait. First of all, my husband is on here. It says, I can hear this conversation faintly from the next room. Faintly from the room next door. I checked in on here because I thought Martina was talking to Dr. Phil.
We have a problem, and we're going to be bringing you in to talk on screen about your relationship.
Oh, is it the Southern? Does Dr. Phil have? Do you have a Southern accent? What is this accent?
Maybe a little bit. I can pronounce it.
Because I didn't pick up on it.
He has that kind of West Virginia, almost Hank Hill. Dr. Phil does.
Does he really? Yeah, I never really realized that. It's true. Huh.
That's funny.
Oh my God, that is okay. My husband's British. I'm in the UK,
nice,
so that's
nice.
He's got a funny accent too. My Jay in the chat was making fun of yesterday. He popped in to say something about Merkel and her shakes, and it's diabetes or something. And he's like, he says diabetes really funny. Diabetes.
Like, because I always say, me and my buddy, one of my good friends came from Liverpool, right? He's Liverpudlian.
Oh yeah, he's from the north. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's funny. And, we were driving down south. I'm like, all right, we're going to go to Birmingham. And he said, no, it's Birmingham.
Yeah.
I'm like, Birmingham, Alabama, man. It's Birmingham, Alabama. Alabama.
Oh, no way. Because
Huh?
it's Birmingham, Alabama. It's not Birmingham, UK.
England.
Oh
right.
my God,
But,
that is so
I'm sure
funny.
it's based on Birmingham, UK,
Yeah.
and we named the city Birmingham, but everybody calls it Birmingham. Birmingham. Going to Birmingham, Alabama.
That's so funny because I think I do the same thing. I think I've called it Birmingham, and he's like laughed at me. What else? I say a few other things that he's just like, Martina, no, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm from New York. I'm saying it my way.
That's right.
I also, everyone calls it the loo or the
Yeah.
toilet, and I find the toilet way too graphic. No one needs to think about me on a toilet. Like, it's the bathroom. Thank you.
The loo's funny.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I refuse to call it a loo, too, because it's like, I feel like I'm being, like, oh, look at me, I'm in England, I'm going to call it the loo. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
I mean,
bathroom, okay? Like, it's a
Bathroom
bathroom.
and the restroom. Yeah, that's what we do, yeah.
I'm not going to try to be like, oh, look at me. Oh, where's the loo? Haha. I'm in England. Like, no, I'll call it
You
that.
know what I loved and where I did fit in? More than, I've traveled the world, and I always wanted to come back to the States. There was never anywhere, just my home where my heart is, right?
Same.
But I got to Scotland, I went into Edinburgh, and went way out and did this whole whiskey and waterfall tour, and met all these wonderful people, and I loved them. I just loved the air. I loved, I actually did breathe better there. I lived down here in Florida, and the allergens, really gets to you.
Yeah.
Up in the island, I loved it so much. It was a great, great place.
Yeah, I think...
Have you guys been up to Scotland, you and your husband?
No, not yet, but I think he talks about it. I think he's got some family and some things to do out there. And, like, the UK is so small. It's smaller than New York State. So he's always like, oh, my God, that's really far away. I'm like, it is not far away, motherfucker. You can drive there. Like, chill. It just takes a few hours. So, yeah, we definitely need to hop around a little bit more. But actually, no, I did go on the day that I moved here, my flight went to Edinburgh. Yeah, see, that's where I did go, but it was just in the airport. It was really funny, too, because I was on the long, long flight. I don't know, it was morning. It was like I was a disaster, and I'm outside smoking a cigarette at the airport. And I, asked some guys, I'm like, excuse me, where are we? And then they're like, Edinburgh. I don't know how to say it, because I say Edinburgh, and he's like, laughing at me. It's like Edinburgh or something. I don't know how they say it.
Edinburgh?
And, yeah, they, kind of, it's like a whimper at the end. I don't know, but I say Edinburgh. And I was like, where are we? And they're like, Edinburgh. And I'm like, what country am I in? And they're like, Scotland. I'm like, okay, there we go.
I felt that way sometimes, taking those 14-hour flights, and getting into Germany or yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was I had a layover in Iceland, so it was ridiculous.
I've had some great European trips, though. I've had lots and lots of fun. I did a whole in Italy. I did a whole tour around Italy, Naples, Rome.
Oh wow!
I didn't get north as much as I had hoped, but it was a lot of fun. Great people, great food, great wine.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Okay, yeah, Count Ancula is in Scotland. Yeah, I should definitely visit there. I'm going to go back to this page, because my artist is in the chat. He's really loving it. He says he supports. I don't know if that means he's going to be a backer or what, but he's like, I'm really digging the art. I'm going to back this. But yeah, also this action shot. I mean, Maz, do you see this? Do you see the movement on the horses and their conversation? Like, you can see their intensity of the conversation, and you can see the movement of the horses. With, what helps with that movement too is not only the capes draping in the back, but the birds.
Yes, right.
That helps that illusion of movement, and then the close-ups of their conversation ends up showing that it's a really dramatic conversation happening.
I hope everybody backs it. It's a really, really great story. It's central to what I call the Cautionverse. It's a 50 title comic book universe. We're also doing these coins, these collector coins. And Mike Miller is doing a special legendary cover for us. We have a legendary artist series. We do them in metal. That's the artist right there. It was Jordy. But yeah, we are super stoked about it.
Very nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to see what the chat is talking about. So I'm going to switch camera angles back to the library with me. Hey, guys.
Uh-huh.
And let's see what you guys are talking about. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, I think I had someone, Tim Bob, if you're still there. Tim Bob, you there? You there? He had a question for me. He says, I have a question. So you were talking about a persona. What is the end goal of this persona? How would you like to influence the culture? Well, that's a two-parter, really. There's different layers to it. And originally when I created this persona, like 10 years ago, like 2009, and I originally created this. Wait, oh yeah, we're still on me. Okay, yeah. Originally, I created the Lady Alchemy persona. If you're talking about the performer, I'll get to the comic book, I guess, as well. But the actual persona, me, was created because, like I said, I didn't feel satisfied with just doing a sexy little number. I wanted to have the alchemy kind of a part of it, and I also realized that alchemical symbolisms and the allegories and the mythology in that as well was just a huge catalyst for creativity. I mean, there's so many visuals and a lot of amazing visual stuff. I bring up some alchemy imagery on some of my streams. I think the alchemy streams, and there's just so much potential for taking this knowledge and sharing it the way that I know how. And that's kind of the purpose. Alchemy is a tradition that's passed down, and it was an oral tradition, and then people were writing it down, but through like weird cryptic symbolic kind of stories and things. So there's a lot of ancient texts that have a lot of weird symbolism to it, and like very cryptic in a cryptic manner. And then there's modern day alchemists, and they write books on practical alchemy or magic or whatever, but my medium of passing information on to the culture that we live in and for the future is through a visual medium, through performance. So that was the ultimate goal with Lady Alchemy, was to pass on this alchemical knowledge the way that I knew how. And then it became another layer of politics on top of it, because I think that a lot of the alchemical tradition, and it is also kind of regulates stuff against feminism and SJW stuff, because it has like science and tradition and just like a normal way of thinking that's not filled with weirdness. So it's weird, but not that kind of weird. So I think it's another level of bringing tradition and Western culture, because alchemy is a Western tradition, to the world and to the culture. So it's my way of spreading both my traditional, and I don't mean trad as in like, ooh, I don't show any nudity. Like, yeah, okay, I show my body, whatever. But I'm talking about tradition as in the alchemical Western tradition and knowledge and esoteric occult knowledge. So yeah, that's what it is. Spreading the alchemy knowledge and keeping the tradition of our Western culture alive. As far as the comic book goes, similar stuff. It's to spread entertainment through the means that we have, the way that we do it, and that means, alchemy. There's some alchemical symbols in there, and also very anti-feminist stuff without it being overt and obvious and cringy. It's just in the subtext of the storyline. Anyway, sorry. Let me see what people are saying in here. Okay, Maz gave $2 and said, I endorse this project. Great artwork. Nice shots.
Thank you.
That's my artist, yeah.
Awesome.
Dude does sound like Dr. Phil. This is ridiculous. I'm Southern American. It's Birmingham.
That's right. I don't care if you made it in the UK. We claimed it.
No one needs to see Martina on the pot, sitting on the toilet. Yeah, it's true. I don't do that. It's the bathroom. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we, I like what you're saying about, putting things that you want to say into your story subtly.
Right.
You don't want to, the number one thing that I'm putting out there is story, character, action, and fun. I guess that's 4 things, but is our principles of escapist entertainment, and that's what we're going to do. But as a writer, I definitely have things, and there's a moral and a through line to the story that I want to express. I want to get out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what being an artist is. Like, we have something to say, but it's about how you do it, too. It has to be done well. It has to be done through aesthetics and storytelling. Like, it can't just be like the left tend to do lately, and some of the people on the right, that they think that they're being, like, culture warriors, but it's just straight up, like, meta! And it's like, okay. Like, it can't be like, Orange Man, bad art. It's like, okay, that's not really deep. Like, it's too literal. Like, can we do something on different layers here? Like, I can appreciate good art even if it is anti-Trump, if it's done well, and I'm like, wow, that was actually really, like, clever, that was really good, but don't agree with the message, but, like, whatever, I can appreciate the art. So that's what I hope to do, is something that can be appreciated by anyone, whether you know what the deeper message is or not. Yeah,
me too.
My artist Moz is asking, yeah, it's dope. Who's the penciler? I think you mentioned it. Let's just throw that
Jordy,
in there again.
And he's on the Indiegogo, Jordy Armenthal. He is out of Barcelona. He is an amazing guy, amazing artist, as you can see, and he's going to be leading the charge for us with Offworlder.
Nice. There's no genteel way of announcing a dump, George Carlin. Okay.
I love George Carlin. He's great.
Yeah. I'm just reading comments. Sorry, guys. Lady A unifies opposites, water and fire, etc. True. This TV frame is trippy. I hope you guys like it. I'm kind of digging this whole TV frame thing for, like, the interviews. It's kind of like, I'm on TV interviewing you.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool.
Gotta be, like, artsy with it. See? He's on TV. Now I'm on TV. We're doing an interview, and we're going back and forth.
Right. It's like, it's important. It's like, the old Barbara Walters specials.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about your mother.
Yeah. So it's like, tell me about your campaign. What is this about? What is his story?
Why should I care?
All right, yeah. Any questions, guys? They're talking about politics, man. They're just talking about Sex Laptop and Candace Owens. I like the TV frame. If I burn certain flags, do I need to be kicked out? How much was Mike Barron involved with Offworlder comic?
A ton. So we talk all the time. So basically, I had a screenplay, and from that screenplay, I made a big outline for the comic, and then got the opportunity to work with Mike Barron. So just like Chuck Dixon, I went through my list of titles and said, hey, what do you want to work on, man? I want to collaborate with you. And they went through it, and Mike dug Offworlder, and he's perfect for it. Co-creator of Nexus, it's the whole sci-fi saga. So he took it from there, and he rewrote the outline, and then he wrote the 48 pages.
Oh, wow.
So, Mike Barron's the writer. So, and we're going to do story by us, and Mike Barron's the writer.
Nice. So you're just helping with all the infrastructure of the storyline and the artwork, and kind of like being a director producer of it all.
Yes. So with Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon, I kind of wanted to, especially it's coming up on 2 years, but I wanted to give them the material. I knew what I was going to do with it, but once they got it, I wanted to, number one, see what they would do with it. Number two, learn from them. Right. To better comic book writer. I mean, you only get these chances once in a lifetime, if that. And I wanted to take good advantage of it, and learn from those guys and get better. So that's really what's helped me a lot, and we have another top secret project we're actually announcing in 2 weeks. It's going to be pretty cool. I think a lot of
Nice.
people are going to like it. I think a lot of people on the right are going to like it. It's not necessarily meant for that, but it is that, it's just who I am. So July 4th, we're going to be launching a brand new product, a brand new line. So keep an eye out for that.
That's so exciting. Okay, yeah. Right in time for 4th of July. How patriotic.
That's right. We want to do a big 4th of July, and we get fireworks,
amazing.
Good
yeah,
stuff.
I'm similar too, because I have Moz doing the artwork, and I do have a professional writer actually in Hollywood that is doing the storyline. Is a script writer for Hollywood, but I am kind of overseeing the project as well, and making sure that all the pieces are the way that I'm happy and like it. And even the other day I was working with my artist, and Lady Alchemy, the performer, is my artistry is movement, but it's also costuming. So I'm all about costuming, and I make them, and I make my headdresses and all these pieces. So I was kind of collaborating with him about like inspiration, and I was actually drawing. I have some sketches actually that I make myself for costuming, and we're just working really closely together with that right now. So I have a huge hand with costuming ideas.
Nice.
Yeah. With some like alchemy stuff.
That's cool. Are you, and then do you have a place where you get them produce these dresses, these costumes? Or
I make it. I have some headdresses here that I've shown them on stream before.
My wife actually did that. She made good money too. She had a dress line for toddlers and tiaras. That show.
Oh no way!
Yes, she was actually on that.
I love toddlers and tiaras. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I love it.
She, yeah, I mean, she did. Well, the talent she did was just amazing making those dresses. Right. You know what I mean? And it was amazing just to see her work and do it.
Yeah.
Take $100 worth of materials and make a big dress out of it.
Yeah, that's really similar to actually what I do, which is why I love toddlers and tiaras. There's an aspect of it that other people don't really see and appreciate, and I understand that there's like, there can be some bullshit like to it, and that's unfortunate, but that's kind of like anything, especially when you have like dance moms in there, like you have like momagers kind of involved.
That got me. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, you're totally right. Well, no, not just the dance moms that were hardcore. There were ladies in their 30s and 40s and 50s that were competing in their own pageant, and taking time away. So I bring my daughters are there. They want to, get up on stage, get over their stage fright, do a little dance, and feel pretty for the day and come home, right? That's what I paid for. That's what they wanted. I never said anything, but I was always sitting there like looking at these women. I'm like, come on, really? You're doing this at 40, 50 years old, taking time, at least make your own thing. I don't know. That just bugged me.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, like, I understand, like, the, like, stupid aspects of it, but ultimately like what you said is, it definitely has something that instills, like, grace and elegance, and, there's an aspect to pageantry that I actually really, really do adore. And as Lady Alchemy, I learned a lot from it. There's the beauty part of pageantry, which is probably the dresses that your wife made, was probably for the beauty portion.
Yeah, big fancy dresses, and that's... I wasn't a fan at first, right? She had to kind of, we were talking about it, but what I witnessed myself the first time that they were very good at making all of the children feel special, feel good, And some people say, well, not everybody should get trophies. Well, in that kind of performance environment with young children, it's good just to praise them for getting up on stage.
Oh, I mean, you have full-grown adults, me included, even as a performer. I've always had stage fright, and I get very, very anxious. But, I mean, even full-grown adults, they say the number one fear is public speaking over death. I know. So that is something that it instills, which is, like, what it's doing is teaching them from youth how to, be a lady. You have to have certain manners or whatever. I don't like when they get bratty and they're all about like the winning aspect and this and that. And yes, it can get really bratty and horrible and catty, but ultimately the purpose of the pageants is to be a graceful, elegant lady, learn how to talk to elders, learn how to just get up on stage and be presentable and all that. And it's really, really nice. Something I learned from the beauty aspect, which, you know, the costuming is actually really credible, and it really does relate with like the burlesque, like performance art, like costuming stuff. Like there's just, it's like you said, takes fabrics and things and you turn it into something wearable, and it's a skill and a craft and an artistry all to itself. So that's why I'm really big with the costumes with the comic book. But something I learned for performing, watching Toddlers and Tiaras, was the beauty portion, because it's really fantastic how these like little girls, they, you know, when they're really good at it, they, you know, have the nice posture and they learn how to walk and they have that like smile. Like there's something about smiling, and I hate people that don't smile. You know, you smile. No, you're a big smile.
The other thing I did like was that they really focused on having the children look adults in the eyes.
Yep.
You know, I always tell my daughter, I tell all my kids that. I'm like, when you walk in, you're talking to somebody, look them in the eye, you know, especially my daughters. I'm making sure, you know, hey, if you're out at night, scan the area. If you see somebody suspicious, look them in the eyes. I see you. You know, and I like that they taught them that. You know, that was good.
Yeah, there's definitely things that are good, and I like the walk, and like they teach them to smile, and looking in the eye, and they do this thing when they turn, and it's just like it's beauty, and they just have this thing of just like turning and smiling, and they flutter their eyes, and I'm kind of like, oh my god, I started doing it. I did that in performance, and that's kind of people were like, oh my god, like you have this presence about you. I'm like, I learned that shit from Toddlers and Tiaras. Like,
I'll tell my wife that because the show's been off for years, you know, and you know, so it had a big following, you know, and some people, you know, like you said, there was things, you know, that they didn't like, and there was people involved. But here was the thing: it was a reality show, you know, so they always make people do stuff again. Or I never was gonna, you know, my wife didn't either. Like we just don't play that game, you know. And she was in it, you know, she had a business, you know, doing this. So,
exactly. The reality show aspect, they're going to just show you the worst of the worst. But there's some really, really good things that go on in pageantry that I do appreciate. But, man, oh my god, again, now another hour went by, and it just flies. It just flies right by. I'm always like, whenever I have to stream, like, oh god, I don't want to have to do this, but I have to. And it always ends up being super fun, and I'm like, I would keep on going longer and longer. But, so is there any last kind of thing that you want to talk to the audience about? The audience, please, put some questions in there, put some super chats, ask Ben whatever you want to ask him, art, storyline, Comicsgate, or comics in general, culture war.
Hunting tips.
Hunting tips, okay.
What do you got going?
While they kind of submit some sort of questions for you guys, don't forget to super chat. That helps. Don't do this shit for free. I do though.
That's right. And check out offworldercomic.com, offworldercomic.com to pick out your own copy of Offworlder, whether you want the VIP pack or the newsprint edition. You know, there's lots of things for you to choose from.
Cool. All right, let me see what they're saying. I'm going to go back up a bit into... Oh, God, what is happening? Check updates.
Nick asked, I was on somebody else's stream the other day. I was on Akira Press, Antonio Bryce's channel just yesterday.
Oh, I think someone was asking, the guy that was asking about the... was it the Baron guy? I think they were asking... Oh, no. It wasn't... I already asked you that question, but he asked who you would... what artists you would like to do a crossover with the most.
Honestly, who I wanted to collaborate, who I want to make a crossover, I don't know. Let me think about... Cyberfrog would be cool. Malin's would be cool. I always wanted to do a book. Since I started talking over the last couple of years, I'd love to do a book with Ethan. You know, I have tons of ideas. I have tons of amazing artists that we're working with already. You know, you see Jordy's work. You know, Ravage was awesome. I love Jimbo. I'm just very lucky with how far I've gotten already, and I'm just enjoying the ride, honestly. You know, after Offworlder, we'll do Ravage #2, the complete saga. It'll be 100 plus more pages, a trade paperback, graphic novel. We'll also offer a hardcover version of it. So,
Nice.
all good.
Nice. There we go. Let me see. Anyone else? They're talking about DLive now. Who's this Jeremy Cat? What are you guys talking about? Is Mike Barron going to collaborate with any more projects?
Yes, we have The Wraith that's coming out potentially in October. It's called The Wraith. That's also by myself and Mike Barron.
Nice. All right, guys. I don't see any more questions coming in. I'll give you one more minute.
Well, thank you for having me on today to talk about Offworlder. Yeah, the quartering, Jeremy. Yeah, he's great.
Okay.
Yeah, he tweeted us out as well when we first started. I love that guy.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah. Plus, he has a great channel. I mean, he's talked about some important stuff. He was one of the ones leading the charge when Stan Lee was getting abused. You know, he always talked about it, and yeah, I love that guy.
Nice. Yeah, I was like, who's this Jeremy Cat? And they're like, Martina, quartering. Jay's always making fun of me because I'm a bit of a boomer about stuff.
Carl just said I want to collaborate with him. Yes, I do. I love his work. He's awesome. He's in the UK too, I think. Carl O'Rourke. Or he's in Ireland. I think he's in Ireland.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I have a question. How would either of you suggest getting in touch with artists if you're more of a storyteller or writer?
You know, great question. We are looking to launch a website called Indie Focused. It's been delayed a little bit, as these big projects do, but that would be one. The second thing is I would join, and what I did, go on to DeviantArt, go on to Facebook, join the artist groups, and see who you like, number one. Number two, save up some money. You know, save up some money. Just like you don't work for free, the artists don't work for free. I haven't found a lot of artists, honestly, that want to say, hey, I have the time. I'm going to work and just do all the work for free. Now Jordy did go ahead, by quite a few pages. So we're going to give him extra profit sharing and stuff with that. But I would say number one, get on the Facebook book, DeviantArt. Save up $500, $1,000 to get some cover art done, some original, character designs of your characters. Hey, put your money where your mouth is if you believe it. Try to get it out there. And compared to making a movie or making a big album or going on tour, $500 to come up with some art for your comic. That's not too bad,
Yeah. Cheaper than my artist, Moss. Fucking expensive. Expensive boy. He said, Fuck Google 2 said, is it worth producing projects through Diamond anymore? I don't know what Diamond is.
Diamond is Diamond Distribution. I am going to be putting Offworlder 1 up there. I wanted to get my arms around our business first, meaning, we had some roadblocks with the first distribution. We got those cleared up. Now we're into our second Indiegogo. We're trying to see how this one will go, and if it'll fund, people like the, that kind of sci-fi vibe that we're putting out there. And if not, then we're going to go to Ravage number 2, So I put hold on the Diamond Distribution just because I don't know what my next series will be. You know what I mean? And I want to be able to, have some dependability before I approach the comic book store market.
Right. Right. They said, Nick said, I'll keep that in mind.
Croatian Master says Martina is the best Croatian girl.
Oh, thank you.
Out of all Croatia, so that's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome, especially I haven't been a very good Croatian girl and don't go back that often. And I stopped speaking the language when I was younger, so sorry about it. I just know how to pray in Croatian. My bad. And Croatian food, though. I'm good at that. I make some good burek. And goulash.
I love trying new food. Obviously, when I travel around, that's my thing.
Yeah. I love food anywhere I go. I want the authentic food.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Phil Google 2 asked, where's Lady Alchemy number 2 announcement? We're trying to get through number 1, but the storyline does include a follow-up book, so it is going to happen. It's the way that we wrote the story. It's the way that it's headed. So it will be there. We just have a lot to do right now still. We're just sending out perks, and Moz has been cranking out the artwork. I've been consulting with him the past few days, so it's happening. And once we kind of figure out exactly when we're going to go into print, we can then think about number 2. Okay. I guess that'll be that. And thank you so much. Yeah, let's do it anytime. Come back again.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, anytime you need somebody on, let me know. I'll be happy to come and be your Ed McMahon and talk about stuff, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Sounds good. All right, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Please check out his Indiegogo. The description is in the link, or the link is in the description of this video. So check it out. It's on Indiegogo. Go support, and if not, hit him up on Twitter. And like I said, support any way you can. So, follow and retweet and share with other people. It's important to get the culture out. Yeah. And it's important for us to spread around other content and stuff to enjoy. I'm pretty sure people can enjoy story and storytelling and art and other content that is not 100% politics. So go spread it around. And I will be doing Alchemy stream tomorrow. Art stream Tuesdays. This is a new thing. Wednesdays, doing some interviews, and art stream Thursday. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
fills my brain.